Have you always wanted to play in alternate tunings but felt a little intimidated by the process? Not anymore. I'm David Harsh, founder of Guitar Success for You, and although most of my time is spent equipping beginning and intermediate Christian guitar players to dig deep into standard tuning, there are times when I unpack alternate tunings. These are some of the tunings I've composed songs in. Some of them are very well known, but others are ones I've never seen anyone else use because I've created them for my specific songs. The 6 machine heads on our guitars are like a 6-digit combination lock, and the alternate tunings we can access with them can be incredibly enjoyable. But some people are reluctant to experiment, and because of this, they miss out on some of the fun. Here are 10 myths I'm going to dispel about alternate tunings. You ready? Myth number 1. Alternate tunings are too difficult to get into. By definition, an alternate tuning is any tuning that's different from standard tuning. So even drop D can fall into this category. This is the best place to start. All you do is start with a standard tuned guitar and then tune 1 string down, your 6th string, until the 12th fret harmonic matches the open 4th string D. Now I can play a G chord like this, but more importantly, unlike in standard tuning, I can play all 6 strings for a D chord like this. All kinds of possibilities are waiting in drop D tuning, especially around the tonal centers of D and G. See how simple that was? Myth number 2. Alternate tunings can be achieved with a partial capo. If I were to take this standard tuned guitar and place a partial capo on strings 5, 4, and 3 at the 2nd fret and play those notes open, they would sound an E sus4 with the notes E, B, E, A, B, and E. Now I'm going to switch guitars. Here I have a different guitar tuned to Dadgad. And if I place the capo on the 2nd fret all the way across, I'll have access to the same open notes that sound an E sus4. E, B, E, A, B, and E. Here are both guitars strummed open side by side. And although some of the chords might sound similar on both guitars, that's where the similarity between the partial capo and the alternate tuning end. Because a closed voicing scale played on a guitar in standard tuning above any capo looks and feels way different from that of an alternate tuned guitar. Watch this closed voicing A major scale as I play it with both of the guitars I've just presented to you. The standard tuned guitar with the partial capo and the Dadgad Capo 2 guitar. Very different, right? Myth number 3. You can figure out the tuning of a guitar from an audio recording. Sometimes. Not always. I wrote a song in Dadgad and recorded it on an album. Later, a friend liked the song so much that he taught it to himself from the recording, and he played it for me in standard tuning, but with a lot more fretted notes. I learned another song from the audio recording of a Scottish folk singer by discovering what I thought was his tuning and playing along with the recording, only to later catch him on video with a totally different tuning and capo placement. Myth number 4, the tuning dictates the key. Not necessarily. Does standard tuning dictate which keys we play in? No. There are songs in DADGAD that center around D major or even D minor or the D Dorian mode. And I have a song in DADGAD that begins in B minor. And before you say, well, B minor is the same key signature as D major, which is true, I actually learned a beautiful fingerstyle song by Pierre Bensusan in DADGAD tuning while studying with him in France called L'Alchimiste. And that song was in DADGAD, but in the keys of C and F major without a capo. Pretty wild. Myth number 5, alternate tunings require a dedicated guitar. I think it depends on how quickly you can retune. I caught Michael Hedges in concert a couple times, and he had 2 6-string guitars for the whole show. One he played on stage, while his technician retuned the other one off stage. He must have played in upwards of 24 tunings. I do make sure my guitar is set up for optimal play for the tunings I prefer, and the guys at the shop where I take my guitars, Mike Lull's Guitar Works, reference my tuning list as they calibrate my guitar. I play in at least 12 tunings, but that doesn't mean having a dozen guitars on stage. I mean, it would be nice to travel with a dozen guitars, but at my concerts and when I lead worship, I use at most 3 guitars. I try to keep my guitars in neighboring tunings as well and to plan my sets accordingly. Myth number 6, each tuning takes a long time to learn to play in. Actually, once you've retuned, you can be creating great music in minutes. I will say that becoming proficient in a tuning could take years, but there's something sweet about exploring a new tuning for the first time and finding chord voicings that are just not possible in standard or even partial capo positions. Myth number 7, once you retune, you have to relearn the instrument. As I mentioned, you don't have to relearn everything in a new tuning. Some strings, if they remain in their original pitches, can allow for some of the same figures we know, like 3-string chord voicings or melodic fragments. Some tunings are nice for specific textures, drones, or certain keys, but a new tuning doesn't necessitate relearning the entire guitar from square one. Consider the fact that some people spend decades becoming proficient in standard tuning. But go as deep as you want with each tuning and try to be realistic. Myth number 8, alternate tunings require special string gauges. Some people literally restring their guitar with strings that would never work in standard tuning, sometimes using the exact same gauges more than once across their guitar. But if we keep the same strings proprietary to their standard locations on the guitar, I recommend medium gauge, 13 to 56 from high to low, because this set of strings splits the difference between the heavy gauge strings that add too much stress to the neck when they're tuned up and the light gauge strings that sort of flap about when they're tuned down. Myth number 9, your tunings drastically affect your collaborators' choices. As long as you're in concert pitch and playing chords or melodies, this really doesn't affect your collaborators in a major way. You might have a little fun mystifying your bass player who thinks they know which notes you're playing, especially on your low strings, but no, tunings don't affect other musicians, at least not logistically. They may actually inspire your collaborators artistically, which could be really cool. Lastly, myth number 10. There are only a limited number of alternate tunings out there. Well, think about my analogy of a combination lock for a moment. There are lots of possibilities, especially if there are 6 digits on your lock. One guitarist I've seen in concert, Scott Huckabee, has composed in hundreds of tunings. And if we were to compute each string as having a combined range of an octave, in other words, each string could theoretically be tuned down a perfect fifth and up a major third, how many alternate tuning possibilities could there be on a 6-string guitar? Ready? Wait for it. Answer: 2,985,984 tunings. So there's really no limit to the number of tunings we can discover and explore. As we wrap up, Without going too deep into a discussion about gear, I will say that there are automated tuners, tuning levers, and pegs that can be added to a guitar to customize the precision and speed with which someone can retune their guitar. Guitarist Adrian Legg is a prime example of someone who has leveraged these kinds of tools. But a 6-string acoustic guitar in good shape is primed and ready for exploring alternate tunings. So I encourage you to step out and take the risk. Who knows? You might write an arrangement or a brand new song in a new tuning today. Maybe you'll find a way to arrange a worship song you love in an alternate tuning, perhaps combined with a capo across all 6 strings for the key where it works best for your voice, your band, or both. I hope you do. And if you're looking for more insights into discovering some hidden treasures that the guitar and music have to offer, I would be honored to be your guide in a one-of-a-kind online experience called Guitar Success for You. I've never seen anything like what we have. Therefore, I had to create it. We have a 6-stage success path, proven strategies for multimodal learning, a collection of hand-picked guest experts, and a community of like-minded Christian guitarists who just might be on a similar journey to you. Will you discover what we've worked so diligently to create? Please take a moment to visit guitarsuccessforyou.com and see what we're up to. It could change your guitar world and transform your musical life. I hope to see you inside Guitar Success for You. Thanks for watching, keep showing up, and I'll see you next time.